Death is the most important yet the most frightening topic. Death is the primary bearing point in our life, as it is known with absolute certainty that we will die. Everything rest is in question. Yeah, nobody has ever managed to live forever, no doubts about that. Then again, people are so afraid of death that do their best to live as if they were immortal. Obviously, it is a fool's errand. The brightest heads of all times thought that death is not for nothing and has to be comprehended. This is where the origins of such concepts lie as memento mori, a samurai always thinks about death, etc. Nevertheless, there is no point thinking about death. Comprehension implies experience on the emotional level, not thinking using your brains. Thoughts are of no avail here. Death visits us on very essential occasions of our life and helps us to step forward and enter the next level. Death comes to us in childhood when we witness a pet passing away or when we accidentally come across a deceased relative or a neighbor. It makes a strong impression indeed. Even though being unable to understand it yet, we feel that life has slightly changed. Death stops by when we are teenagers. This is a very complicated crisis of transition between adolescence and adulthood. It lasts for a long time and quite painful. I believe every teenager goes through the thought about committing a suicide. Some even put it into practice, unfortunately. But the essence of that thought is in nowhere near actually killing yourself, but in touching death and feeling it. You have to become aware that you're actually able to end your life. It's a funny thing, but that realization gives us strength to live on, to live in spite of circumstances. It impels us to live well and truly. Death pays a visit at the Christ's age when we start reflecting on the meaning of life, when we have the dim foreboding of life's finitude. Nevertheless, all this is just a prelude to what we're going to experience after reaching 40 years milestone, when death becomes our permanent companion. It's not only about gradual energy losses and declining health as we actually start wasting away. The point is that if we don't try to hide from the Reaper, the feeling of being in charge of our own death arises. The person gets to feel that it's him who makes the decision whether to live or die. As dying is quite simple, actually. It will suffice just not to get up from the bed in the morning, because there is no sense, there is no reason to live on. As soon as such a decision is made, you are free to consider yourself dead. Physical death can drag on for years, but you've already decided to die anyway, and you're just waiting for your end to come. Nothing is going to change. So, that very realization of being able to make the vital decision gives us powers to continue living. It provides us with means to understand that it may be too early. It's not the moment for that decision as we haven't done yet what we want to do. After understanding that we are the decision makers, we get to know what death is and how to prepare for it. We get to feel that it's not going to be like a click of the switch. Dying is a long process and we're bound to rate our life along the way. We inevitably will be judging ourselves for both what has been done and what hasn't. And we are going to be the harshest possible judges for ourselves. The overwhelming majority of people are afraid even of contemplating it. But when a person really understands that he will be estimating himself for what he has done in life, everything falls into places. In the teeth of death, seemingly useless trifles all of a sudden become important, and critical things completely lose their meaning. Facing death, what are we going to accuse ourselves of? Of being delusional and all those misbeliefs? Highly unlikely. Of any stupid things that we did? Well, it is human to err. First of all, we will judge ourselves for what we haven't done. We will accuse ourselves of unseized opportunities. Unseized not because of being inexperienced or stupid, but because of cowardice, indecision, and a weak character, unseized because it wasn't approved by the society. After reaching that understanding, we become aware of how to live further. We become able to grasp the genuine meaning of Castaneda's words about perfection. Most people understand those perversely, construing perfection as something pristine in a way of dressing or behavior. In actuality, perfection is when there is nothing to accuse yourself of, when everything is done properly. And doing properly means seizing every given opportunity, not getting distracted by social standards and guidelines, as well as by any other external sources of influence, not following social dogmas and living exactly the way you have to live. Indeed, we get to see very clearly what is worth being afraid of and what is not. And the only thing that you have to fear is not doing something when you could and wanted to. Consequently, after stepping on the path of being perfect, when there is nothing to regret about on your deathbed, life becomes structured up to a point, meaningful and pleasant. You are granted with powers and understanding to live on. Death is our only trustful advisor that shows us the correct direction, as when facing it, a lot of deceptively important things recede into the background, whereas something inessential comes to the fore. Death itself gives us all necessary tools for living: the meaning, energy, motivation, and goals. Death liberates our spirit by providing ironclad guarantees that it will come sooner or later, and therefore kind of unties our hands, limiting our fears to act and make necessary bold decisions. Having embraced death, you don't have the luxury of wasting your life and pretending anymore, as the clock is ticking, irreversibly and unwaveringly. All in all, one might rightly say that choosing death, you choose life. Quite a paradox, huh?